The Lakers this year were one of the most disappointing teams in recent NBA history. According to PointsBet, coming into the league, the Lake Show had the second best odds to win the title, but this season was anything but showtime. The Lakers missed the play-in tournament entirely and finished 16 games under 500. The team must now face questions as to which players will help them return to the championship form that they had 2 seasons ago. Probably the player with the biggest question mark, and the player who people are truly unsure about what to do with, is the big man in the middle, Anthony Davis. With the Lakers, when he plays, the 8-time All-Star has been nothing short of absolutely dominant, averaging over 24 points per game on greater than 50% shooting, over 9 rebounds, 2 blocks, and 1 steal per game. Stats that are not matched by a single player across the NBA. These stats just show the immense and extremely unique talent that the product from Kentucky has to offer. The problem with AD is that everything is prefaced with saying when he plays. Throughout his career, and particularly in the past 2 years, injuries have been a problem. In those past 2 seasons, he has missed over half of the Lakers games, including one playoff game that he sat out of and another one that he only played 5 minutes in. This past season, Davis dealt with a variety of injuries that caused him to miss various games, and he was out during the entire month of March when his team really needed him. In that month, when the Lakers needed to make a run to make the playoffs, the team went 4-12. All games they played without LeBron. Without Davis this season, the Lakers went 16-26. If that win percentage was expanded to an 82-game season, it would result in a 31-win team. The time he has missed has earned Davis some rather unaffectionate nicknames like Anthony Day-to-Day Davis and one from Charles Barkley that's simply street clothes.
I call him Anthony Street Clothes Davis because he's always in street clothes.
While Davis has never had a year-long injury, he has had some very serious and concerning injuries in the past. Like last year, he had a calf and Achilles injury which sidelined him for around 2 months because of how dangerous that injury can be. Everyone remembers when KD rushed back from a calf injury and it resulted in an Achilles tear. And while he has come back and been the same player, people like Boogie Cousins, Chauncey Billups, and Kobe had major fall-offs after that same injury. Davis's recent injuries, along with his history, beg the question, should the Lakers move on and look for someone new to pair with LeBron? In the short term, and particularly for next year, the answer should be no. We have seen LeBron and AD play together, and when they were healthy, it resulted in a championship. Doing so in the bubble does mean that it was a vastly different environment, but it does not mean that it was necessarily easier for them. It could be argued that if they were not in the bubble, the Lakers would not have won. But before the NBA bubble, the Lakers were 49-14. That record was good enough for first place in the Western Conference, and it was more wins than all but 2 other teams had after the additional regular season games in the bubble. When the Brow plays for the Lakers, they have a win percentage of 63.2%, which would amount to around 52 wins. And that total jumps to a 57-win season for games that Davis and James both play in. I haven't even mentioned Davis's defensive ability yet. He's considered to be one of the best defenders in the league and is known to be able to switch and effectively guard all 5 positions while still providing rim protection. The unique ability was noted by none other than Kevin Durant, who called him elite at that side of the court. This ability has earned Davis 4 NBA All-Defensive Team honors so far, and his expertise has shown up while on the Lakers. In 2 of his 3 years with the Lakers, when he is on the court, the team has had a defensive rating that would be good enough for the best defense in the NBA. And in the 3rd year, they still would have been top 10 with him on the court. The Lakers' problems go far beyond Davis. And while they do need the superstar to be at his best and available, the front office, and more specifically Rob Pelinka, need to address a team that finished outside the top 20 in both offensive and defensive rating. After having his worst season ever in terms of value over replacement player, Pelinka needs to find a way to get rid of Russell Westbrook. When playing together, Westbrook, James, and Davis had a negative net rating and a below average true shooting percentage, which is a shooting percentage that factors two-pointers, free throws, and threes differently to more accurately describe efficiency. Now, trading Westbrook will be no easy task. If he opts into his contract, he'll be owed around $47 million. NBA teams are not generally looking to pay a player more than anyone was paid this past year when he only averages 18.5 points on 44% shooting, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists. And for half of his career, has had a negative defensive box plus minus. However, it's up to the Lakers front office to find a way to do so. Teams could have interest in Westbrook because he has such an incredible reputation. He's easily able to draw fans and attention to his team, and he's on an expiring contract, so teams will only need to pay him for a year and then they can move on. So a team that has a low salary next year and is looking for more fan engagement may have serious interest in trading for Russ. According to NBA insider Mark Stein, rumors have floated around the Charlotte Hornets or Indiana Pacers may be interested in Russ's expiring contract. In those cases, it would likely mean the Lakers trade for other players that are being paid more than they might be worth, like Gordon Hayward, Buddy Hield, or Malcolm Brogdon. Exact trades that might work are Russ for either Hield and Brogdon or for Hayward and Terry Rozier. However, the Lakers may need to throw in a couple of picks to sweeten the deal. But all of those players offer something that Westbrook does not. A career three-point shooting percentage? Over 31%. For the Lakers, finding a way to maximize their spacing and defense should be a top priority. When they won the championship in 2020, they did so by having the third best defensive rating and the best field goal percentage in the NBA. Now, it's up to Rob Pelinka to reorganize the team and find a new head coach that can recreate the magic that they had that year. And having AD and LeBron as the leaders of that team is a good start. If the Lakers reach a point that they're unable to move Westbrook, they will likely need to see what the return is for AD. With AD, Russ, and LeBron, the Lakers are basically at the salary cap. And out of those three stars, AD is the youngest, and he might be the one to get them the most return value in a trade. So, if the Lakers are unable to move on from Westbrook, and LeBron is unhappy and demands that moves be made, they have to look into the return for Davis and hope that it's enough to overcome the faults of Westbrook. The Lakers' first choice, however, should be to try to keep Davis and James together. When the two undeniable superstars are playing with one another, the Lakers can compete with anyone. If they are able to keep both stars healthy and build a team that's complementary to their skill sets, it means that they could contend for championships. The best way for the Lakers to get back to the championship attitude that they know better than almost any other NBA franchise is by getting the most out of their all-time NBA top 75 player. It's not very difficult to imagine either. Davis has played over 80% of his team's games in 5 of his NBA seasons, including his first with the Lakers when they won the championship. The first step to him remaining healthy is to ensure that his body is in the best shape possible. His teammate LeBron is a staple of health, in part because, as it has been famously reported, he spends around $1.5 million on his body each year. AD, on the other hand, has been called out by Hall of Famer Kevin Garnett for being out of shape and needing to change his offseason regimen to stay healthier. If Davis is able to stay in shape and stay healthy this next season for the Lakers, it will likely mean that they're a playoff-bound team that has a chance at making a championship-type run. The competition will be tough next year, as the Nuggets will get a healthy Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. The Grizzlies are a young team that will likely continue to improve. The Mavs have Luka Doncic, and the Suns and Warriors were two of the best teams in the league this year. In order to keep up with that stacked Western Conference, the Lakers will need to find a new team that fits well together, but having Davis and LeBron is a great foundation. Now, LeBron James is 37 and has missed at least 26 games in 3 of his last 4 years. This is also his final year under contract with the Lakers, and he has openly talked about his desire to both return to Cleveland and play with his son when he gets to the NBA. So, the Lakers need a second star that can both lift up the franchise and keep the king happy so he keeps his throne in LA. If next year Davis continues to struggle with injuries and he misses more than half of his team's games again, then at the 2023 trade deadline, the team needs to trade him. If they're forced to do so, it will likely spell the end of an interesting era in Lakers history, and one that unfortunately had to end because of injuries. For now though, the best way for the Lakers to rebound from a difficult year is to keep Davis and to build a more functional team around AD and King James. But what do you think? Should the Lakers trade Anthony Davis? Be sure to subscribe and let us know what you think in the comments.